Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this virtual open house. My name is Courtney Booz, and I have your student, your child, for English Language Arts, either English 1 Honors or Pre-AP English 1, so their 9th grade year. In normal circumstances, if this was in person, I would have a PowerPoint that I would go through with you all, and so I'm going to do the same thing now, and you guys will get a taste then of what this looks like if your student should have to e-learn or if they already are an e-learner, because I'm going to share my screen with you and share a PowerPoint. From the beginning. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Real life with technology issues. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. I graduated from Melbourne High School myself, and then I went on to the University of Central Florida, got my bachelor's degree in English Language Arts Education. So I very specifically always knew that I wanted to be a high school English teacher. I then got my master's in educational leadership. My husband, Mr. Booz, is the guidance counselor on campus for last names R through Z, and together we have 2 daughters, Lena, who is 3 years old, and Lila, who was just born this last October. So I was on maternity leave for a bit last semester and came back in January. Next. Technology. This is a big component to just learning in general this generation, but especially so this year with the e-learning component. So I'm going to really quickly just go down this list of recommended resources and required resources. So obviously Focus is recommended that both you as the parents and students have access to. Focus is where we would be posting grades. The students know that they have an Outlook account where they could access both an email address that connects to Focus, and that Outlook account also gives them access to any Microsoft tools such as Word or Excel or PowerPoint, and that would be accessed by using their student number at share.brevardschools.org, and this was shared with them on the first day of school. Zoom, like this, is being used for e-learners on a daily basis. All of my students have access to an online textbook through Launchpad. The icon link would look like this, an HMH link, because that's the company it is used through. However, my students physically in class will also be checking out their own copy of the textbook this week, actually. We use a website called Turnitin.com that is a plagiarism checker. Students will be submitting their essays to Turnitin.com. It scans the internet for any similar phrases, and it also scans fellow student papers as well. This is really just to get students in the habit of realizing what a serious offense plagiarism is in our day and age and how detrimental it can be to their future education, especially at the collegiate level. We also use a website called No Red Ink. This is a grammar website where they will be completing their grammar homework. This is the only assignment in my entire class that I will not accept late from students, because all of my No Red Ink grammar assignments are open for 2-week windows, and there is a posted due date schedule and chart both in my classroom and online, and I reviewed it with them, and the due dates are always reminded and class time is always provided. So if your student ever misses a No Red Ink assignment, there really should not be an excuse, which is why it's the only assignment I do not accept late once the due date has passed. There on the slide for you is also my Google Classroom code for each of my blocked classes. Those Google Classroom codes give them access, obviously, to Google Classroom, but you as parents can also add yourself as well to kind of view the organization and assignments, and feel free to do that if you'd like. The next slide just shows you a quick outline of our school year. So overall, we just finished our short story unit. I like to start the year with a short story unit because it feels like we've accomplished something, and it's just a nice refresher to go over some of those literary terms that we maybe forget, especially this year when, when we've gone a few more months than usual without English language arts. We usually would have only the summer, and this group in particular went the summer plus that first semester. So excuse me, my hope was that that short story unit really did help them become acclimated again and just refresh their memory on some things. We just started this week of February 5th, technically last Friday, the Odyssey by Homer. And with this unit, students will also be focusing on argumentation writing, which we'll get to this week as well. The Odyssey is relatively long, but we read an abridged version. And we will wrap up the Odyssey unit around March 5th. From there, we will go into Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, and we'll also do a background on informative writing. This window for Romeo and Juliet looks a little bit longer than other units, March 8th through April 16th, but that is because of two things that are also included in that window of time. The first of which is spring break. Spring break happens March 15th through the 19th. And the second window that we kind of have to keep open as of right now is for the FSA writing test. And that window is April 5th through 16th. So that means that based on what our testing coordinator ends up scheduling, our students, my students, could take the FSA writing test on any of those given days. So we've just got to be a little more flexible during that time. And then also during that time are the midterm exams. So your students will be taking their midterm exam. This would be the equivalent to the exam that they would normally take right around winter break or right before winter break. That midway point would be March 25th and March 26th. So their midterm exam will be on everything covered up until that point, and a study guide, of course, will go out at a later date. Later, when we return from spring break and a little bit after that, we'll do an Animal Farm and Freedom unit paired also with some FSA reading prep, and that will take place April 19th through May 14th. We wrap up the year with a short survival themed unit, May 17th through the 28th. And then our final exam dates for this semester are June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Those are the last 3 days of school. So obviously these dates are subject to change a little bit, but having just done this last semester, I'm relatively confident in the pacing of it all. And it does move relatively quickly because of block scheduling. Last but not least, a couple more things to share with you guys. The number one reason, in my opinion, students are not successful in my class is either not turning in work or simply turning in work late or not on time. I take 5 points off for every day an assignment is late. So those lost points very quickly add up, especially if it becomes habitual for a student to turn in their work late. So be keeping an eye on focus, and if you notice that trend, I would maybe talk to your student about that becoming a habit and how to avoid it. I am a strong advocate for organization. I do have a lot of due dates, but they are posted to my whiteboard calendar in my wall, on my back wall in class for my students in class. And for my e-learners, I've asked them to use Google Classroom Calendar, and the ultimate end goal here is for students to be as organized as possible with their due dates and to keep their own planner. That is my suggestion. If you guys have any questions at all for me on anything that I've covered during this brief open house video, my phone number is the school line, of course, extension 24567, and my email is listed here on this slide, booz.courtney@brevardschools.org. Alrighty guys, I think that about wraps it up. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Feel free to reach out with any additional questions, and I am having a great year so far with your students. I hope they're enjoying this class as well. Have a great night. Bye-bye.